If you work in psych, you already know these people. Hey, what's up guys, it's me, the Psychiatric David C. The psych field attracts a lot of different personalities. It can be due to like high stress or even high emotional labor. So when you have different types of people working in that field, they're gonna develop very different coping styles. In this video, I'm gonna describe the different types of nurses you're gonna run into if you work on a psych unit. Let's talk about it. Before we get started, I just want to make sure it's clear that this is all love and not attacks. So starting with the first one, the always panicking nurse. This is the nurse where like anytime it gets busy, they start freaking the F out. Like they'll run around like a chicken with their heads cut off and they just panic and just make everyone else around them panic too, even if the situation doesn't call for it. And you'd think it'd get better over time and with more experience, but sometimes it doesn't. There's a nurse I work with who's been there for like over 5 years and she still panics over like everything. When things get busy, she'll start panicking and she'll start like delegating tasks to everyone else. She'll be like, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, and then and I'm just like, yo, can you relax? It's gonna be okay, just take a deep breath. Like I would even offer her a visceral PRN if I could. I'm just like, yo, you just gotta like take a deep breath and figure out which priority you gotta do first, and then that's it. It's okay. But when she gets in that panic mode, there's like no reasoning with her. So yeah, even though this type of nurse can be like very vigilant and sometimes catch things that other nurses might miss, they always panic when things get busy, and that anxiety spreads to all the other coworkers and even the patients. And then moving on to the next type of nurse, which is the quiet nurse. This nurse is the one who doesn't really talk much. Like they only really talk if they need to talk about something. They don't really like strike up a conversation with you just because. Like they're just focused on getting their work done. Usually they're like pretty smart and they know what they're doing, so they actually don't need to talk much, but sometimes it can be a little boring to work with them. And even though they don't talk much, you can bet that they're listening on like what everyone else is saying and doing. They're more of like an observer, and they're usually really good at like de-escalation too, because instead of like, having their energy level rise up to match the patient's, they stay at their baseline of being like calm and quiet, so they can bring the patient down to that level with them. So yeah, usually the quiet nurse is like one of the better ones to work with. They usually know what they're doing, and they usually don't cause any issues with anyone. And then moving on to the next one, which is the veteran nurse. This is the nurse who's been working on the same unit at the same hospital for like at least 10 years. They've seen everything that has to go down on that unit. Nothing phases them. They don't react to like anything. Like, let's just say there's like chaos unfolding and like a bunch of patients are yelling. They'll just like take a sip of their coffee because they know what to do. Maybe like new nurses or the always panicking nurse will ask them what to do and just be like, oh yeah, just give it a couple minutes. They'll be fine. Honestly, if I had to pick one, I think this is the type of nurse that I am. I've worked in psych nursing for like over 6 years now. Nothing really phases me anymore. Like if a patient starts getting like aggressive or loud, I just be like, okay, dude, like, here's the situation, here's what's going on. If you don't cooperate, this is what's gonna happen, and that's it. There's like no point in getting like offended or worked up because of the patient. I'm not saying I know exactly what to do in every single situation, but I pretty much know what to do in almost every situation. So yeah, the veteran nurse has like really strong emotional regulation. They don't let patients or even coworkers get to them. Other nurses feel safe when that nurse is on the unit because they know like they have a nurse to look up to and they'll know what to do. It definitely takes a lot of experience to get to this point though, but it's always good when you have like a calm veteran nurse on your team. And then next up, we have the overly therapeutic nurse. Now, this is the nurse who takes every patient interaction and turns it into a full-on therapy session. Like something that could get answered in maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes, this nurse will talk to the patient for like 5 to 10. And then you'll have other nurses wondering where that nurse is, and it ends up that they were just talking to one of the patients for like 10 or 15 minutes. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to like talk to your patients because that's what you're supposed to do, but when you do it for too much and too long, that's when it can become a little bit of an issue. This is more of an issue when you have like team members waiting on you and like relying on you to do other things. But I mean, if you're a nurse who has like literally nothing else to do at that moment, then it's fine to talk to your patients for a couple minutes. But there are certain nurses who will talk to their patients for that long, no matter what's going on. So when it's busy, you really need that nurse to like, cut the conversation a little bit shorter so they can come back and help you guys out. So yeah, this type of nurse can build like really good rapport with the patients, and they make the patients feel like heard and appreciated. But this nurse usually has like pretty bad time management skills. And sometimes they can even risk like not setting enough boundaries between themselves and the patients since they spend so much time with them. So it's very important to be therapeutic, but not too much to the point where the patient has like unlimited emotional access to you. And some overly therapeutic nurses will give patients that access. And then next up, you have the underly therapeutic nurse. Now, this is the nurse who has absolutely zero therapeutic communication skills at all. Like if a patient voices a concern to them, they have like no idea how to answer it in a therapeutic manner. If a patient starts developing like a little attitude or raising their tone of voice, the nurse will literally just snap back at them to like, put them in their place. This is a nurse who will actually escalate situations without even realizing it. And if you had another nurse put in that situation who actually had therapeutic communication skills, then that situation would not escalate in the same manner. Like there's this one nurse I've worked with who like always gets aggressive and snaps back at the patient if the patient ever calls them like names or something. And anytime I see that happen, I just have to like pull that nurse aside and get them off the unit just to prevent that situation from escalating. And honestly, a lot of the things that I've heard this nurse say to the patients would probably get them fired. But anyway, this is the type of nurse you don't want interacting with patients who are escalating, because they're probably just going to make things worse. And moving on to the next one, which is the rule enforcing nurse. Now, this is the nurse who follows every single rule by the book. And if they see someone else not following the rules by the book, they will call them out on it. They know every single policy by memory, and they will follow the rules no matter what. And then you know how sometimes there's like medication times that you're supposed to be passing meds? Like if a patient is taking Lexapro 5 milligrams daily and it's scheduled for 9 o'clock in the morning, you have anywhere from like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. to give the patient that medication. There was one time a long time ago where I gave the medication like maybe 2 or 5 minutes late, like it was either 10:02 to 10:05. And then that nurse came up to me and was like, hey, you gave that medication late. And I was just like, bro, it's freaking Lexapro. They take it once a day. I get it 2 minutes late. Like, it's not a big deal. When I was a newer nurse, I would take his like suggestions more seriously. But now that I'm more of like a veteran nurse, like I don't really care what he says. Like I already know what I'm doing. Like if you give an anti-seizure medication late, that's a pretty big deal. But like an antidepressant that I take once a day, if you're 2 minutes late on it, it's fine, dude. But yeah, you will meet some of these rule enforcing nurses on psych units for sure. And then next up, we have the boomer nurse. Now, this is a nurse who's usually in their like, 50s, 60s, or even 70s. So, and they're not used to like all this new age information technology. Like they're really slow at typing. They're not computer savvy at all. They'll ask you how to like minimize a window because they don't know how to do it themselves. Most of the time, they're really nice people, but they're just really bad with technology and really slow with technology. Usually they've been a nurse for a long time, so they're like really competent and they know what they're doing, but they just take a little bit more time carrying out tasks. Like, their documentation takes forever. If they need to enter a physician order into the computer, they take forever to like, click stuff. But I mean, it's not their fault. They didn't grow up with like technology. So yeah, the boomer nurse is really nice to have on the unit, but they do take a while to get things done sometimes. And then last up, we have the team glue nurse. Now, this is basically like the perfect nurse. Like, I know there's nobody who's perfect, but like they pretty much do all aspects of their job like really well. Like they'll check up on their coworkers. They help other nurses without being asked. They know how to de-escalate patients, and not just patients, but de-escalate staff member fights as well. They're competent and knowledgeable about a lot of things. Like honestly, you can't really say anything bad about them. But honestly, this type of nurse is like so rare to encounter. So if you do encounter this unicorn of a nurse, you better appreciate them. So yeah, these nurses are always good to have on the unit. They always improve like the unit morale and mood. They know how to like solve problems and solve arguments. They're pretty much perfect. But I don't want to call them the perfect nurse because there's nobody who's perfect, but I'll just call them the team glue nurse. If you ever meet one of these nurses, make sure you treat them well because they're really good to have around. And that wraps it up for the different types of nurses that you'll meet in psych. No one type is the best type, except maybe the last one. But honestly, the best units have like a mix of every single one of these. It'd be pretty boring if like every single nurse was the perfect nurse. So I want to know, which one are you most like? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I do videos twice a week on psych nursing stuff. I am also on TikTok and Instagram if you want to follow me over there at the Psychiatric David C. I treat adults living in California. If you're interested, there's a link down below. And with that, your mental health just leveled up. You're welcome.